Today, that unspoken promise was shattered, and the entire city of Chicago, and every single one of us who has watched his journey, is holding its breath. The news feels impossible to type, a cruel joke that our minds refuse to accept. Lieutenant Kelly Severide of Firehouse 51 has been in a tragic accident and is currently at Chicago Med, fighting for his life. It doesn't feel real. It can't be. This is Kelly Severide, the man who has walked through fire and stared down explosions, the man who has survived bombs, betrayals, and the kind of personal losses that would have leveled anyone else. He's the anchor of Squad 3, the impulsive, big-hearted brother to Casey, and the man who finally found his forever in Stella Kidd. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not now. Not after everything. The call that changed everything. We don't have all the details yet. The reports are still a chaotic mess of scanners and hushed whispers. But from what we can piece together, it wasn't even a fire. It was an OFI investigation. That's what makes this so much more bitter. Severide, in his element as one of the best arson investigators in the country, was reportedly at a previously burned-out warehouse, following a lead on the string of unsolved arsons that have been plaguing the West Loop. He was supposed to be safe. He was with the OFI team, cataloging evidence in a structure that had already been cleared. But the fire had done more damage than anyone knew. According to preliminary reports, a load-bearing wall and a portion of the roof, weakened by the initial blaze and compromised by water damage, gave way without warning. It was a catastrophic structural failure, a freak accident, the kind of random, senseless tragedy that doesn't care who you are or how much good you've done. The first call that came over the radio wasn't for a fire. It was the frantic, panicked call that every first responder dreads. Firefighter down. We don't know the full extent of his injuries. The words being used are critical, crush injuries, and rush to med. And we know that Firehouse 51, his family, was the one to get the call. We can only imagine the horror of Truck 81 and Squad 3 arriving on that scene, their lights flashing, only to see their own lieutenant being pulled from the rubble. The longest wait. Right now, the waiting room at Chicago Med is a sacred, terrible place. It's filled with the blue uniforms of 51, faces pale and stained with concrete dust. This isn't just a colleague, it's their family. We see Herman, his hands shaking, unable to sit, pacing the floor and muttering prayers. We see Maj, silent in a corner, the shock too deep for words. We see Cruz, who looks like he's seeing a ghost, the trauma of losing Otis all flooding back in one devastating wave. We see Chief Bowden, standing like a stone pillar against the wall, his face a mask of iron, but his eyes betraying the terror of a father about to lose a son. And then there's Stella. Our hearts don't just break for her, they shatter. This woman has fought tooth and nail for her happiness. She fought to get him back from his arson investigation detour. She fought to build a life with him, to create a home. They have been through so much. Distance, danger, and their own demons. They had finally reached that beautiful, stable place. They were, as we learned so recently, even talking about starting a family, a dream that felt like the final, perfect piece of their puzzle. To imagine her getting that news, to picture her in that cold, sterile hallway, staring at the doors to the trauma bay, living every second in that agonizing limbo between hope and the unbearable. It's a pain that feels personal. We've watched her fear this exact moment. We've watched her wait for him by the bay doors, her breath catching every time Squad 3 returned from a tough call. He was her one, her constant. And now, she's facing the one thing she always knew could happen but prayed never would. She is facing a future that might not have him in it. Why this hurts so much? Why does this feel different? Why does this one hurt, right down to the bone? Because Kelly Severide was supposed to be the exception. In a world that takes so much, He was the one who always beat the odds. He was the one who reminded us that even after the deepest pain, losing Shay, losing his father, you could still find a way to open your heart. His evolution from a closed-off lone wolf to a devoted husband and leader was one of the greatest journeys we've had the honor to watch. He and Stella weren't just a TV couple. They were a promise. They were proof that two broken people could fit their pieces together to make something whole and beautiful. To have that ripped away by a random ton of bricks and twisted steel feels like a betrayal by the universe. It's not just a character in a hospital. It's the idea that happiness is fragile, and that even the strongest among us are vulnerable.